the security protocols and the emergency response protocols that we have on campus. So where we are seated, on the left and right flanks of the main tent, we have the emergency exit. Equally, our front entrance will also serve as our emergency exit. These exits should be able to lead us to our main fire assembly points. We have ushers to guide us in the event of an emergency. On campus as well, we have St. John ambulance manned by paramedics, and they should be in a position to attend to any medical emergencies should they arise. Additionally, we also have an observation room, a medical observation room at the DIGC for attending minor emergencies. Lastly, we have a lost and found desk just outside the tent, manned by our customer service personnel. So make use of that should you come across something. We have a customer service desk. There are ushers with branded t-shirts, and they should be in a position to guide you within the premises. Thank you very much, and once again, welcome to ICIPE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lelesera. At this point, we'll invite the ICIPE choral team to present the Kenyan National Anthem. You're welcome. May I kindly request all of us to be upstanding for the national anthem.
Tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi. Amkeni ndugu zetu, tufanye sote bidii, nasi tujitoe kwa nguvu. Nchi yetu ya Kenya tunayoipenda, tuwe tayari kuilinda, na tujenge taifa letu. Ndio wajibu wetu. Kenya istahili heshima. Tuungane mikono pamoja kazini, kila siku tuwe na shukrani.
Thank you very much.
You may be seated. It is now my privilege to invite the Director General of ICIPE, Dr. Abdu Tenkwano, to deliver his opening remarks. Dr. Tenkwano will also invite the Chair of the Governing Council to address us. You're welcome.
His Excellency, the Principal Secretary, Foreign Affairs, Dr. Ibrahim Korir Singawi, who will join us later in the program, but I want to recognize his presence up front. His Excellency Mr. William Alexander MacDonald, High Commissioner, Barbados High Commission, will also be joining us. Her Excellency Ambassador Mrs. Miriam Aman Ouedraogo Sulama, Deputy Permanent Representative of Burkina Faso to Kenya and the United Nations. Ms. Sophie Price will be joining us later, representing His Excellency Joshua Taba, the High Commissioner for Canada. Professor P.O. Lumumba, thank you for being here. Chairman and founder of P.O. Lumumba Foundation and advocate of the High Court of Kenya and Tanganyika. Distinguished representatives of ICIPE funding partners, Dr. Ilva Ilbert, Chair ICIPE Governing Council, distinguished members of the Governing Council, distinguished guests, the entire ICIPE family, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It is a profound honor to welcome you today as we launch the ICIPE vision and strategy for 2026 to 2030. This roadmap is designed to reposition our center for even greater scientific leadership, institutional excellence, and developmental impact. Today marks the culmination of an exciting 20-month journey of internal rediscovery of our collective values, capacity, and dreams. The journey towards developing this vision and strategy has allowed us to rediscover who we are as an institution, what we stand for, and what Africa and the world need from us in the decades ahead. Our process began in June 2024 with the inaugural science retreat held at ICIPE Thomas Odiambo campus in Mbita Point, Western Kenya, on the shores of Lake Victoria. The choice of this historic site was deliberate and symbolic. It marked the breathing of new life into a site that is rich in legacy and a reaffirmation of our center's founding spirit, its evolution, and numerous milestones over the past 5 decades. One colleague said, and I quote, "Exciting times lie ahead. If innovation had wings, it would be flying around the ICIPE campuses at the moment. We are moving forward with one strong voice, impacting nature and society with insect science solutions for food, health, and climate resilience," end of quote. So, as we present the ICIPE vision and strategy for 2026 to 2030 to you today, we are coming from a point of strength as one empowered ICIPE that firmly believes in the underlying principle of this roadmap. Today marks the beginning of a new era, one that is rooted in our heritage, strengthened by our people, and propelled by our shared ambition to transform Africa's future through the power of insect science. Dear friends and partners, we appreciate your presence here today. We don't take it for granted. We acknowledge and deeply thank you for the role that you have played in ICIPE's story thus far. We thank you for your continued trust in us It is now my privilege to invite Dr. Ylva Elber, Chair of the Governing Council of ICIPE.
Abraham Korir Singoy, Her Excellency Ambassador Mrs. Miriam Aman Wedrugodo Sulama, His Excellency Mr. William Alexander MacDonald, Ms. Sophie Price, Professor PLO Lumumba, representative of ICIPE donor partners, distinguished guests, ICIPE Director General Dr. Abdou Tenkwano, and the entire ICIPE family, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to also welcome you to this landmark occasion, the launch of the ICIPE Vision and Strategy 2026 to 2030. This celebration is a reaffirmation of our commitment to insect science, its potential to transform lives, and by our shared responsibility to shape a more resilient and sustainable future for Africa and the world. Above all, this day reflects optimism, unity, and a renewed ambition for ICIPE and for all who supports the Centre's mission. We all know that the global research landscape has shifted profoundly in recent years. Technological breakthroughs, most notably the rapid development of AI, are reshaping how knowledge is created, while geopolitical and economic uncertainties continue to make research funding increasingly unpredictable. The ICIPE Vision and Strategy 2026 to 2030 is thus both timely and essential. It sets a framework for strengthening scientific and institutional efficiency, refining the Centre's programmatic structure, and clearly aligning its priorities with regional and global development agendas, such as the Africa Union's Agenda 2063, continental development priorities, and the Sustainable Development Goals. The strategy envisions a strengthened research architecture and the continued advancement of science solutions that improve the lives of millions across Africa and beyond. It calls strongly for interdisciplinary collaboration and excellence, sustained investment and strategic investment, and a strong commitment to delivering impactful and tangible outcome. The document, for those who haven't read it yet, I strongly recommend you to do so, clearly outlines how ICIPE's 4 science themes, plant, animal, human, and environmental health, connected through a One Health lens and complemented by 4 research platforms: integrated biosciences, data and analytics, capacity building, and policy and stakeholder engagement, and the Directory of Impact and Delivery. How this together forms a pipeline from discovery to impact, linking laboratories to livelihoods, science to policy and transformation, and accelerating the process from innovation to market. All within 5 impact domains that capture some of the main challenges of our time: agri-food system transformation, global health, environment and biodiversity, climate change mitigation and adaptation, and policy and enabling environments. It is important to note that the vision and strategy is grounded in ICIPE's 55-year journey, as the DG mentioned, and is an evolution of the Centre's strengths. Its theme, impacting nature and society with insect science solutions for food, health, and climate resilience, captures both the urgency of today's challenges and the unique role of insect science in meeting them. Another important, very important feature of this strategy is that it has been developed in a very dynamic, inclusive, and visionary process, actively involving stakeholders and the Governing Council. So it's been a bottom-up and top-down process. And on behalf of the Governing Council, I strongly commend the DG, Dr. Abdou Tenkwano, for his leadership in this process. The collaborative spirit of the strategies is also strongly embedded in the strategy itself. It calls for interdisciplinary thinking, joint problem solving, and deeper partnerships. It acknowledges that impactful science is never a work of individuals alone, but of teams. And it underscores the central role of partnerships in achieving scale and sustainability. As the DG said, or quoted one of the staff, these are exciting times for ICIPE, and the new strategy is a guiding light and a clear roadmap for the Centre's next chapter. It provides coherence and direction, and it affirms that ICIPE stands on stable ground with robust scientific foundation and a strong institutional capacity. I'm honored to serve as chair of the Governing Council and privileged to work alongside such a committed and visionary community. And together with the Governing Council, I look forward to the impact that this vision and strategy will unlock. Thank you all.
Thank you, Director General and the Chair of ICIPE Governing Council for those remarks, reminding us of the changing landscape and the timeliness of ICIPE's Vision and Strategy 2026-2030. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to a very particularly special moment in today's program. Professor Risley Thomas Odhiambo was not only the founder of ICIPE, but he was visionary, whose legacy continues to inspire scientific excellence across Africa and beyond. His pioneering work in insect science, his unwavering commitment to using science for sustainable development laid the foundation upon which the institution stands today. It is therefore fitting that as we launch the Vision and Strategy 2026-2030, we hear from the founder himself through his own words captured on video. So ladies and gentlemen, I invite you all to join me in watching the inaugural TRO lecture.
Africa by itself has to now invent its own solutions.
After 25 years, Thomas Odhiambo is leaving. On this rainy night in Nairobi, he's writing one of the last speeches that he will make.
Africa by itself has to now
kindly bear with us as they load the video. They're just loading the video. We apologize for the technical error.
invent its own solutions.
After 25 years, Thomas Odhiambo is leaving. On this rainy night in Nairobi, he's writing one of the last speeches that he will make as director of the laboratory he built from nothing into one of the world's leading centers for the study of tropical insects. It's the first of its kind in the tropics. A story of struggle for recognition and achievement in a world that only seems to see Africa in terms of its problems and failures.
I always wondered why Africa was not in the forefront of science, ever since I was in school. I could not see and I could not believe that people had been given talents in Africa which are different from talents elsewhere in the world. And part of my purpose was to convince myself that it can really be done. To prove the point that you can do excellent science on major problems of importance to Africa within Africa.
The damage by insects, both in the field as well as in storage, are extremely high. Really very, very high indeed. For good reasons, good climate, high temperatures. You couldn't have it better if you're an insect. And so it's really a question of managing the insect population by understanding their biology thoroughly, understanding the relationship with their host, whether plants or animals or humans. And because environment has always been important to us, sustainability has always been at the core of our work. Our concentration is certainly let's manage the insect population. Manage in such a way that we do not harm the environment. We do not harm the non-target organisms that are in the same environment, but that we take out the negative aspects of insects. Our philosophy over the period of time of 20, 25 years has homed specifically on non-polluting systems of pest management.
This is Tom Odiambo's pride and joy, ICIPE, or the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology. On the outskirts of Nairobi, Kenya, it was built on Odiambo's belief that to solve scientific problems relevant to Africa, you had to have a research center in Africa.
You cannot see the exodus. You have to buy us.
And you had to have African scientists who understood the problems doing the work.
Let's look. The original ICIPE facility was built from an original carport without walls. We got a little fund to put up these walls and then have just one office which included everybody, the administrative staff, the financial staff, and myself. We were just only four. But we stayed here for the planning sessions, which began in early 1969 and went on until the beginning of 1970.
Tom Odiambo started ICIPE from this office in a converted carport on the campus of the University of Nairobi. Just getting walls added to the carport was an accomplishment. In 1967, Odiambo wrote an article about how centers of excellence in the tropics could foster both the training of scientists and the pursuit of research relevant to the third world.
The lens fused together.
He needed allies in the first world to make his idea work. He found one such person in Carl Djerassi, the inventor of the birth control pill, and a scientist who had done much to build expertise in steroid chemistry in Mexico.
I wrote it for science, and it was Carl Djerassi who saw it. And he said, but look here, I've been advocating building up collaboratively of a science center in Mexico. And now I'm working on one for Brazil. Here's a paper that I wrote.
Talking about the question of creating centers of excellence of research in lesser developed countries, in countries that don't seem to have the infrastructure for that, who have practically no tertiary education, whose main objectives are primary education, perhaps secondary, and making the point that if these countries ever want to reach the level of a more industrialized country, they'll have to do something about creating, at the very least, using and perhaps even creating indigenous technology, and of course that in turn means science.
I actually gave an example of an institute in entomology, how that would be very useful in terms of advancing the entomological sciences, but at the same time solving a tropical problem, and devise a model for doing it.
So lo and behold, that was published, that paper, and then one day I got a letter, not too long later, from Tom Odhiambo, and he said,
let's try it out on this entomological problem. That's how it started.
So I then got in touch with people at the National Academy of Sciences and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences.
Convincing donors that this radical idea was worthwhile still took some doing, as Ruben Alembo, one of Odhiambo's colleagues at the time, recalls.
It was not only a question of funding, I should say, it was the whole question of the concept, because for years, even up to now, the assumption has been that technical assistance is a directional flow from north to south. And to say that the South could have its own ideas that could contribute to this paradigm of development was unheard of. So it was an uphill fight, not only just in terms of who will fund it, but whether the idea will fly at all.
But it did fly, and the achievement is even more remarkable because it couldn't have happened without a core of African scientists to get it started.
If Kisumu is going to develop as a regional metropolis, technology must now come in a big way. So our new industries must be technology dominated. Our agro-industrial activity must be technology dominated. Our farming must be better than it is, built certainly on the foundation of traditional knowledge, but certainly they must begin to introduce new technologies. We can surely abolish famine and outlaw malnutrition. We have all the knowledge. We can abolish it. We don't have to have it. So that's one goal we can reach within 1 decade. We do not need food aid in this region. And we should not degrade ourselves by depending on food aid, because we don't need food aid.
And finally, there has been recognition for the work done before by Tom Odhiambo and
Thomas Odhiambo, in gratitude for your scientific leadership, your tireless service, and your inspiring example as a visionary and humane educator, the Johns Hopkins University confers upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
The donors are not interested in begging. What they're interested in, if Africa really wants to go forward, is in partnership. We were clear that this institute is very much geared towards Africa. It's an African institute. There are no doubts about that. The view was absolutely African. ICIPE has always been Africa-based, reaching the highest level of excellence, wanting to help the people of Africa. I would like to sleep well as I've slept all these years, very well. Innocent. That indeed the wisdom that was implanted in this institution prevails and continues. And that you as pioneers continue to perform. Be firm. And let's grow, because if you grow, Africa also is likely to begin to grow.
Excellent. May we applaud our founding director, Professor Thomas Risley Odhiambo, a great visionary, a towering giant in scientific excellence, not only in Africa, but globally, a very inspiring rendition of how Africa can solve its problems through scientific excellence. May we applaud Professor Odhiambo. On his shoulders, successive DGs have built on that legacy, and the excellence you see today is founded on that vision. It's now my honor and pleasure to invite another distinguished Pan-Africanist, a scholar, and also a philanthropist, the chairman and founder of PLO Lumumba Foundation, and also advocate of the High Court of Kenya and Tanganyika. Ladies and gentlemen, may you join me in receiving Professor PLO Lumumba.
Jimmy was my colleague at the university many years ago. Let me start by thanking the Director General and, as the Nigerians would say, stand on the protocols already established. That is deliberate so that I do not annoy anybody by making others precede others. I first came to this campus in 1982 when I was a university student, and the late Thomas Risley Odhiambo had asked me to prepare a memorandum of understanding between this institution and the community of Ramogi in Imbo in Siaya district, now Siaya County. I came again as a young graduate with the late Professor Jalango Okumu and the late Professor Hastings Wilfred Opinya Okothogendo. I therefore have been here, but I've been warned that I should only speak for 5 minutes, and 5 minutes I'll speak for. But in order to do justice to the subject that I was asked to speak to, I've written a paper which I believe will be distributed. It gladdens my heart to speak at this institution, which has stood out as an island of excellence in the continent of Africa, and I dare say the world. The director asked me to talk about the renaissance of science in Africa. And there is merit in discussing that subject. But wisdom demands that that subject be discussed and understood in the context of the reality and with an understanding of what the future should be. As you know, despite the best intentions of the best of us, Africa still continues to punch below her weight. If you look at the expenditure that African governments avail for purposes of research, is no more than 1% of the GDP, the lowest in the world. African institutions still rely on donors. We may give them different names. We may give them names such as partners, but they are still donating to us. The net effect, therefore, is that Africa and African scientists do not control their agenda. And the sooner we realize that without being politically correct, the safer we will be. This is not the first time that Africa and Africans are sitting at forums such as this to discuss about the renaissance of science. Indeed, as early as 1961, some of the pioneering Africans recognized that science would be the key driver in the continent of Africa. Those of you who familiarize themselves with trends in Africa will remember that in 1961, on the occasion of the inauguration of what is now the Kwame Nkrumah Institute of Science, Kwame Nkrumah said that if Africa was to totally liberate herself from the clutches of domination, science had to be given her pride of place. The same thinking dominated some of the discussions that took place in Addis Ababa on the occasion of the founding of the Organization of African Unity in 1963. And indeed, efforts were made. Research institutes were established. Universities were established. If it was not Nairobi in Kenya, it was Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, or University of Lagos in Nigeria, or university in different parts of the world. And Africa has remained, even as we speak now, in a totally cold corner of minimal research. If you visit universities in Africa today, many of them are no more, particularly public university, many of them are no more than glorified high schools. The technology that is used is technology that others stopped using many years ago. And that is the reality. Your typical African academic in science still worries about his or her salary and goes on strike because of his or her salary. Does not have the comfort to think about research and to publish academic papers. Research institutions in Africa would collapse if there was no infusion of funds from the global north. And I'm saying that we can say and talk about renaissance of science all we want. But until the day that we are able to fund our activities, Africa will remain in the backwaters of research and science. In 1980, Africa sat in Lagos, Nigeria, and came up with the Lagos Plan of Action. Subsequent to that, there have been declarations by African politicians and academicians. If it is not in Maputo, it is in Malabo. If it is not in Malabo, it is in Abuja. If it is not in Abuja, it is in Nairobi. We have no shortage of meetings in the continent of Africa. But I can confirm to you that we can use the word renaissance all we want. But still, even in the arena of food production, we are importing food. Post-harvest loss. The locusts are back with a bang. The insects are back. The conflicts that are taking place in Africa, whether they are taking place in Sudan, or in southern Cameroon, or in eastern Congo, in Central African Republic, or in the Sahel region, are undermining the efforts that have been hitherto made. The question is, when we talk about renaissance of science, do we have the financial wherewithal to finance what we desire to be financed? ICIPE stands out. But outside of ICIPE, tell me which ones stand out. So those of you who are gathered here, it is right to celebrate. It is right to be nostalgic about the activities that we undertook many years ago. It is right to be hopeful. But let us remember that hope in and of itself is hollow if it is not funded and undergirded by policy positions that are sustainable. Today, whenever you attend a meeting of Africans, we talk about Africa Agenda 2063. We talk about Africa Continental Free Trade Area. All very good, good intentions, which we must never jettison. But I want to remind you, Africans present in this room and non-African friends of goodwill, that Africa must not remain on scientific diapers forever. And it will only happen if we take a solemn vow and match our words with our deeds. The Odhiambos of this world remind us that if there is will, it is not the money that counts. That if there is will, good people will spring up to support your idea. I remember these immortal words of Ralph Waldo Emerson when he said, and they are the words with which I will conclude, that if you make a better mousetrap than your neighbor, even if you live in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to where you reside. Thomas Risley Odhiambo did so in 1970, and I am informed that there are no less than 24 nationalities that pay pilgrimage to what Odhiambo established so many years ago. Today, you will be launching your vision 2026 to 2030. As I walked in, I asked those who are ushering me in, don't you think that the vision is too short? Because 2026 is already gone. They did not give me a satisfactory answer. Because when I see the way the Chinese are thinking, they are thinking 100 years from today. In other words, no sooner will you have launched this vision than it will be necessary that you begin to think of another one. Perhaps longer, a vision that will have meaning when you are long dead. Ladies and gentlemen, I was asked to speak for no more than 5 minutes to talk about renaissance of science. It will happen. Africa shocked the world over the years, but we will only do so in the realm of science if our government officials, and I hope they are represented here, begin to match their words with their deeds. When policy positions and legal infrastructure is enabling, when we dedicate funds to research, when universities are not reduced to certificate issuing institutions, it is only then that science will begin to realize our potential in the mother continent. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you the very best. God bless you.
Thank you, Professor PLO Lumumba, for your very insightful commentary, reminding us that science is really the key driver of development in Africa. As we prepare our panel discussion, I'd like to draw your attention to the image before you, this butterfly in all its splendor. You know, the butterfly's journey is one of nature's most profound transformation. It begins from a tiny egg to the humble caterpillar and enters what seems to be the end, being enclosed in that chrysalis, seemingly very still, very dormant. But inside that chrysalis, something extraordinary is happening. The caterpillar just doesn't grow wings. It completely transforms. Its entire structure breaks down and rebuilds into something capable to flight, something capable of traveling vast distances, something capable of pollinating flowers and sustaining ecosystems, much like ICIPE's journey. We too have evolved from a vision in the mind of Professor Thomas Risley Odhiambo through decades of research and innovation, continuously transforming to meet challenges of our time. And today, as we launch our vision and strategy 2026-2030, we emerge ready for the next phase of our flight. And just as one butterfly can fly thousands of kilometers and pollinate countless flowers, one innovation, one discovery at ICIPE can impact millions of lives across our continent. Our next session will drive and set the tone for as we start our new journey. So, Jimmy?
Thank you very much, Dr. Evelyn. An inspiring rendition about the butterfly. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba has admonished us that we should not remain in scientific diapers, and we should have long-term visioning. Thank you, Professor. It's now my privilege to now invite the panelists, the high-level panel. They're going to have a dialogue around science leadership and funding in a dynamic environment. And so it's my privilege to invite on stage Dr. David Amudavi, Executive Director of BioVision Trust and Coordinator of Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative for Africa. It's also my honor to invite our distinguished Director General and also invite Dr. Claire Linger, that is CIDA Senior Research Advisor. May also invite Dr. Wanjiru Kamau Rutenberg, Managing Director, Alliance of Biodiversity and SEAT. May also invite our distinguished colleague, Dr. Tom Kariuki, Chief Executive Officer of SFA. May also invite our worthy senior colleague, Dr. Elaine Ubalijoro, Chief Executive Officer of C4 ICRAF, and also our distinguished colleague, Dr. Huyam Sati, Director General of AU IBAR, and of course, Dr. David Amudavi. Ladies and gentlemen, may we appreciate them with a round of applause.
Thank you, Madam. Can sit here. Just like Professor said earlier, I stand on the protocol principles already established. It's a great honor for us to convene in this important Center of Excellence in Insect Science. And it's a pleasure for me to get the chance to engage some of the best and fine brains we have that would like to see how ICIPE can realize vision and strategy for 2026 to 2030, building on the very successful visions that we've had and really emanating from what the founders had. I picked a quote from what the founder said at one point when the center was being established. Can it really be done? And now we have a new vision, 26 to 2030, accompanied by a very clear strategy. The question is, can it really be done? With us, we have a panel of 6. As you can see, I won't go into a lot of details, but we have our Director General and CEO of International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology, Dr. Abdu Tenguano. He's right here at the center. We also have Dr. Claire Linger, a Senior Research Advisor for the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SIDA. She's right here. We also have Dr. Lian Baljoro, Director General, World Agroforestry Center, and Chief Executive Officer, C4 ICRAF. she's with us. We also have Dr. Tom Kariuki, Chief Executive Officer, Sons for Africa Foundation, is very much with us over here. And last but not least, we have Dr. Huyan Salih, Director, African Union, Inter-African Bureau of Animal Resources. Now, we'd like to move into a dialogue around the focus on the vision of where we want to take ICIPE in the next 5 years, and in the changing landscape of funding and the challenge that our keynote speaker has just posed. I begin with Dr. Abdu Tenkwano. ICIPE's new vision and strategy 2026 is themed on impacting nature and society. Now, how do you see your Center of Excellence achieving this noble strategic goal? And what do you see as the key levers that we need to have the transformation realize the vision that you have clearly shared with us this morning? And finally, share with us some of the challenges you foresee on walking this journey of realizing this vision. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. You ask me difficult questions. The easiest part was probably to collectively reflect on what we would like to do over the next 5 years to position the center at the center of development with impact on nature and society. What we do here is really wonderful in terms of the science that is generated, in terms of offering solutions that do not destroy nature, but can make a big difference on food systems, health, and other aspects of our livelihoods. The question was, what is it that we could do more than we've done before to make that happen? How do we transform ourselves as an organization? It's not just about transforming Africa. We need to transform ourselves first. We are excellent scientists. As I used to say, if you had to compare ICIPE to a restaurant, you would agree that the kitchen part of the restaurant where we develop recipes has been excellent. We publish a lot. We have good results. The second part of the restaurant is actually where you serve for people to enjoy the meals. And we found out that only a few people tended to know that we had some excellent meals. They would come, they would enjoy the meals, and sometimes they would take away. And because we were not careful to put our label on the package, sometimes they would put their own label on the package that contains our product. So we said we needed to ensure that we have more visibility on what we have achieved. And finally, why not ensure that we have an increased audience, an increased customer base of people who come and enjoy our food? And that is the last part of the restaurant. You need to have a very good signboard that says, here is a place where you can come for good food. So that's basically what we want to be doing over the next 5 years, transforming the organization and being able to tackle, as we end in 2030, some of the more forward-looking issues that Professor Lumumba has alluded to. 5 years is too short. I hope I've answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you, the DG. A clap for the DG for the summarized way of how he sees us achieving this vision. But I'm sure he has already seen there is a lot to be done to get there. Now, I would like to get to Dr. Elian Obatajiro. Oh yes, you've arrived. Thank you. Thank you. You're most welcome. Now, given ICIPE's focus on nature and society, this necessitates use-inspired research. How do we conceptualize our centers, including yours, to fundamentally embed genuine co-creation of research innovations? And what modalities do we need to ensure that nature stewards, policymakers, and community groups are seamlessly integrated into research design processes to enhance value and ownership of research results? Please take the floor.
Thank you very much. First of all, I just want to say how delighted I am to be here. Look at how beautiful we all look and how everybody has showed up in strength to support ICIPE. And we all know the excellence of the work happening at ICIPE, not only from the research point of view, but really down to farmers and entrepreneurship. And so this is such a great model of what research needs to do, particularly on the continent in terms of how we alleviate poverty and actually create local prosperity. And so a good friend of mine is an investor in one of the spin-offs from the technologies that come from ICIPE. Again, how does our research attract investors, create entrepreneurs who create jobs that are dignified, that are creating more jobs? And at the end of the day, all the research we do related to nature is really about how do we sustain that relationship with nature. Some of you may be aware of Patagonia's Progress 2025 report that just came out, Patagonia being one of the leaders in sustainability in nature-based products on the market. And the challenge that they're giving all of us is how do we actually see the planet as one of our board members, as one of our stakeholders, as one of our shareholders. And this is a really key area in terms of how we look at co-creation and how critical it is, especially when we're looking at complex societal and environmental challenges. We know that no single organization can address all dimensions effectively on its own. And this is why this panel is so rich and diverse. We all operate within diverse contexts where projects must respond to the perspectives and needs of multiple audiences, including donors, partners, communities, practitioners, governments, and private sector. A truly effective solution emerges only when all these sectors collaborate effectively, engage in co-design approaches that leverage their collective strengths and insights. So this inclusive collaboration ensures that solutions are contextually relevant. Contextually relevant is a really key word right now. Some of you may know about how AI has become the big buzz and we need to integrate AI everywhere. But what we also need to understand is 90% of AI fails because it's not context relevant. So let's be careful about the hype and make sure that any work we do harnessing these new technologies really ensures that how we're doing that is relevant to local context and broadly supported. Only in this way can we increase the impact and sustainability of the work we do. Only this way can we move beyond top-down models of empowering local actors to be the active stewards in knowledge creation and decision-making processes. For example, at C4ICRAF, our Regreening Africa initiative exemplifies such an inclusive co-creation model. It's been recognized as the United Nations World Restoration Flagship Program, and Regreening Africa has successfully integrated satellite data of citizen science through its Regreening Africa app that has already allowed 600,000 farmers to document and monitor restoration practices on the ground. This approach not only generates robust evidence, but also places communities at the center of restoring their landscapes, fostering ownership and adaptation to local realities. We're currently initiating phase 2 of Regreening Africa with the European Commission, and we're really grateful for that support. So what we know is the stakeholders within Regreening Africa, our engagement practices really look at continual learning, adaptation through structured dialogues, joint reflection, and inclusive workshops where we bring together donors, governments, researchers, communities, and the private sector. Using a participatory methodology that we called stakeholder approach to risk-informed and evidence-based decision-making shared, we balanced the need for structure, flexibility, context-specific interventions that are scientifically grounded, yet responsive to local knowledge and priorities. What we really see as important is co-creation with diverse stakeholders to ensure solutions are both scientifically sound and locally relevant, which is really also in line with what ICIPE work does. We see the critical importance of citizen science tools to empower communities to contribute knowledge and monitor progress, enhancing data richness and legitimacy. Data is only gold if we get the right insights that allow bankability and prosperity to be generated at the same time as sustainability. Ongoing engagement through adaptive management and open dialogue builds shared ownership and fosters trust among all partners. And as we foster trust, what we're also doing is really building on the ecosystems that nature has brought forward over millennia. This interconnectedness that's so key for harmony to happen is really about how do we look at our own intelligence within planetary intelligence to serve nature. So what really is exemplified today on this panel is really a number of co-creation solutions that are anchored in multi-stakeholder collaborations, adaptive learning, and recognition of local knowledge. How we are grounded in the knowledge of our ancestors, how we bring that forward with the science that really gets moved forward through all the work we do, all the young people we train and support is really key. And when we do that, we generate effective outcomes, but also we build the foundations for resilient and sustainable environment and social transformations. So I just feel really honored to be here with all of us today as we celebrate ICIPE. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those very informative views responding to the questions we raised. And for indeed your center being in the category of the consultative group in international agricultural research and collaborating very well with ICIPE, you propose some of the salient models and also underscoring citizen science. That is quite new and refreshing, and acknowledging that what is really on the ground has to be taken into account in the space of science. Thank you. We now want to move to the African Union. Dr. Huya Salih. The Livestock Development Strategy for Africa, LDSA, has the goal to transform the African livestock sector for enhanced contribution to environmentally sustainable, climate resilient, socioeconomic development and equitable growth, which directly mirrors ICIPE's institutional strategy of impacting nature and society. In what ways do you envisage strengthening collaborations between our IBA and ICIPE to achieve the common goals? The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, moderator. Let us begin with congratulating ICIPE for launching this strategy and vision 2026-2030. And the alignment between the livestock development strategy for Africa and the vision of ICIPE is so clear and obvious for everyone. Let me just flag out that the LIDESA, which has been established and developed in 2015, despite all our efforts at the country level, the regional economic communities, and at AU-IBAR, we have implemented many projects and programs implementing this strategy, but yet we haven't implemented or achieved the goals of this strategy. Why, as mentioned by the previous professor speaking here, is the funding. But the main goal and final outcome of LIDESA is to bringing more investments in livestock development in the continent, and this needs money. And the direction by LIDESA is how to build sound public-private partnerships will bring these investments to our value chains across the continent. And for that, AU-IBAR currently is planning for, let me say, a well-monitored and evaluated program that will be targeting integration between the livestock value chains across the regional economic communities. And for that, the collaboration with the ICIPE is a core, because from the perspective of the mandate of the African Union, where we are putting the policies, frameworks, and guiding the resource mobilization for the development, the innovation and research is very important to implement sound practices for our livestock. So LIDESA is the flagship strategy to implement the CAADP, the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, and to achieve the goal of the Agenda 2063. And the collaboration with ICIPE is not something new that we need to establish now. We have already collaborated with ICIPE in many aspects of vector control for the tsetse flies and the trypanosomiasis control. And also we have a big project for the bee health that's supporting good standards for health for bees so that we can support the trade and the SPS compliance for our bees industry in Africa. And let me just put some specific entry points for enhanced collaboration with ICIPE and to continue this journey of collaboration. The first one, as I have mentioned, our integrated regional livestock value chain transformation program, where we need the support of ICIPE's research findings in supporting the animal health systems and the One Health systems through leveraging on ICIPE research on vector control. And this will lead to climate resilient livestock sector. All of the people now speaking about reducing the methane emission from animals. And despite the position of Africa of, like, let me say, we are producing a small portion of greenhouse gases, but we need to make sure that with our growing population and the need for more livestock production, that we have better animals that will have good productivity and has no negative impact. So animal health interventions can be one of the mitigating interventions for the reduction of the greenhouse gases. There is another point where ICIPE has a big role with AU-IBAR is the operationalization of our continental trypanosomiasis control. These diseases has impacted the economic of Africa for pastoral system, agro-system, and farmers. And we need to scale the integrated vector management. We need to deploy and develop diagnostic tools, and also building the capacities and leveraging on the digital solutions by ICIPE to implement this continental strategy. The good thing that this continental strategy has been developed in collaboration with all the scientists, and it has been endorsed by our specialized technical committee just in this October. Doing all this, we will contribute to the One Health and the climate change by supporting the vector control. But the most important point that we have achieved a lot through the Bee Health project, and we don't want to abandon those achievements, and we need to make sure that we are coming back to build on those achievements to support the SPS and the standards for trade compliance for the bee industry in Africa. And there is many modalities to support this collaboration, and in conclusion, I just want to say that Africa livestock sector is a center for the development of the continent, and for that we need to collaborate with ICIPE, with all research institutions to make sure that scientific-based solutions are available for the access of our pastoralists and our farmers in the continent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Salih, for underscoring some of the common projects that AU-IBAR has been collaborating with ICIPE and other centers as well. And you've emphasized the need for very sound public-private partnerships, which brings me to the next speaker, Dr. Wanjiku Kamau Rutenberg, according to this schedule. As a valued partner of ICIPE, how do we manage regional and global partnerships to deliver the new vision? What specific opportunities should ICIPE leverage to make this vision or its vision a reality? Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Congratulations, ICIPE! Also, you guys threw a good party. Look at this room. Look at this. This is amazing, fantastic. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be asked to share thoughts. Allow me to hone in on the part of your question that's around opportunities that ICIPE could and should leverage. I think the first opportunity to leverage is to remember roots. And Professor Pielo talked really about T.R. Odhiambo and where this institution is coming from. A little bit of a story. Sorry, I don't have a speech to read, so I hope it's okay if I just speak from the heart. I first heard of T.R. Odhiambo as a newly appointed director of AWARD, African Women in Agricultural Research and Development. And it was my co-worker who spoke glowingly about the history of this institution and the history of its founder, and passed on the story of a man, a visionary, who I think as a country and as a continent, we miss opportunity to celebrate more regularly. And so I think the first opportunity for ICIPE is please keep reminding us who T.R. Odhiambo was, keep reminding us that we have had African scientific visionaries that have built institutions, not just this one, the African Academy of Sciences as well. I think in a moment where we are, some of us, myself included, despondent about what's going on outside of the continent and the funding shifts that are happening, remembering where we've come from and what has been built from the continent by Africans is an opportunity not to be missed. So ICIPE really shouldn't forget its roots. In terms of partnerships, I think another opportunity to leverage is CAADP. And we've had some of the other speakers speak about CAADP. I think sometimes we take for granted what CAADP actually is for this continent. To have our countries, our political leaders align on anything, on a vision, an agenda, and then map out how we're going to get to that vision is something quite difficult to do. And I'm not sure other continents are doing that. I'm not sure that Europe has its version of CAADP. And so even as we're despondent sometimes about Africa, let's also take moments to celebrate what we are getting right. And then when we do have instruments such as CAADP, having institutions such as critical African institutions such as ICIPE playing a key role in the implementation of CAADP means a lot. The potential for transformation, for real systemic transformation, lies there. And so that's something else that I know that the new vision, the new strategy will leverage. But I think anchoring in African history, anchoring in CAADP are going to be massive opportunities for ICIPE. This institution also has a tremendous history of building African capacity. The number of PhDs, masters and PhD students, African masters and PhD students that have graduated from this institution is tremendous. Some of the best leaders, scientific leaders across the continent, have their roots in training from ICIPE. I think leveraging the alumni of this institution is an important opportunity for ICIPE to not miss in implementing this new strategy. And again, you're hearing me talking first about internal opportunities before going outside. Sometimes we forget what's in the house and we go outside looking for partnership. First, what I'm urging ICIPE is you've got a ton of value in the house before going outside. Now, I sit as the Africa Managing Director for the Alliance of Biodiversity International in SIAT, 2 CGIAR centers. And I think outside of ICIPE, I think partnership with the CGIAR and real deep engagement, and Eliane really spoke to this, deep engagement with the CGIAR is a tremendous opportunity to magnify the work of ICIPE. ICIPE occupies such a unique niche. Nobody else does what ICIPE does. Absolutely nobody else. And so many of us, and our sister from IBA also talked about this, so many of us are so dependent on the work that ICIPE does to advance our own agenda. And so I would point to the CGIAR as another opportunity to leverage more deeply. Of course, there's the work of ICRA, which we're so excited is coming into ICIPE, it's coming into this house. I think that's a tremendous opportunity to bring that relationship with the CGIAR closer. I have to point out our own MOU between the Alliance and ICIPE, a document that I know my boss, Juan Lucas Restrepo, is so proud of and has charged me with ensuring the complete success of. And so I'm really proud to sit here and pledge, and I know Dr. Abdu, you know very well that when I say I pledge commitment to that MOU, and we've done some good things together, and I think there's exciting things ahead. One of which I think is because of the Alliance's strong roots in Latin America, and because ICIPE occupies such a unique niche, one of the things that I know we're really excited about and keen on is how do we ensure that the work of ICIPE crosses the Atlantic and is felt in Latin America and leverages what especially CIAT has across the continent to really bring the knowledge that is created and generated here to impact the rest of the world. And then finally, I think more than an opportunity to leverage is a call to action. That might be a bit of a strange one, but even as we're looking at a shifting global funding landscape, it is becoming increasingly clear, and I suspect, Dr. Karuki, you'll talk to this, it is becoming increasingly clear that African sources of funding have to step up. Our governments, African governments, have to step up in their commitments to funding research. And therein lies a tremendous opportunity for ICIPE to join others who are in that science advocacy for our governments to put resources behind producing African scientists and African scientists who are producing answers to the questions that are contextually relevant. And Dr. Olibajiro talked about context. A lot of what we've been missing and what the shifts in global funding landscapes are making possible is for us as Africans to be better contextually relevant, to solve the problems of the continent. And that's going to take African funding and African scientists, both of which, so it's a call ICIPE is right at the heart of, right from your history to the future. Congratulations.
Thank you, a round of applause. Yeah, Dr. Kamau Rittenberg, you raised a very important point, and I'm glad to say that the CADIP current declaration, the Kampala Declaration, runs from 2026 to 2030, more or less to 35, yes. It's a 10-year one, and the ICIPE kind of interfaces quite nicely in that. And the question then would be, what should be the contribution of ICIPE and other centers towards the realization of the 6 common aspirations by CADIP? I think you make a very, very important point, and from the work that ICIPE needs to do, it has to show the relevance. And if we show the relevance, then we will actually motivate our own African governments to consider funding, because we cannot all the time rely on donor funding. So how do we motivate our African countries to actually commit funds into research to go beyond the 1% that Professor PLO mentioned about? So you raised very important points, and also the opportunities that are available for ICIPE. And you mentioned something that the founder already indicated about from what we saw from the video in terms of scientific leadership. And this brings us to the next contributor to integrate this a bit more building on what ICIPE is laying to ensure that its vision and strategy are achieved for the next 5 years. Dr. Tom Kariuki, how can science funding leaders move beyond simply collecting demographic data to implementing structural reforms that genuinely address systemic biases in peer review and grant awarding processes? For example, what do you see as the role of co-creation and directed funding in providing long-term commitments while maintaining a fair funder-awardee ecosystem? The floor is yours, please.
Thank you. It's a very long question, so I'm not quite sure where to start with it, because that could be a seminar or a workshop that one can build around. First of all, congratulations, Dr. Abdu and the entire team here at ICIPE. I think it's a very great moment. And then personally, I think I want to congratulate you, because you've only been in the office for 1 year only, and here we are launching a strategy. So many, many congratulations for that. Yes, you've asked me to talk a little bit about money. First of all, let me declare that it's not about my own money. I don't have much. But I think what you want me to focus on is how funding organizations really supporting institutions and supporting the people who do the research. Our organization, Science for Africa Foundation, is just like many other organizations that are sitting here and attending this meeting. I think there are fundamental questions we always ask ourselves, and I think it's something we should be asking ourselves every day. Why do we exist when it comes to these conversations around science, research, and innovation? And I think if we keep that in the context and within all the content we generate, I think it becomes very, very easy to then ask other questions. So we exist, in my view, is because we want to focus on the priorities for the continent. What are those priorities right now? Whether it is climate and environment, whether it is health, whether it is food. Those are priorities for the continent. And that is already put into the STISA 2035. Every institution here probably has its own strategy that speaks to the same thing. I know Ariane, you speak a lot about this. So the question there is, what are the questions that we are trying to address? What are the gaps that can be solvable through R&D approaches? Not every problem can be solved through R&D, but I think we need to focus on that. Well, that gets to the second step in all of this. How do we design the programs that actually we have across the continent? Are those programs or designs that are imported, or actually are we creating them here? Because then they must be locally contexted, like you have said, Wajiro, about all of this. So that's a question. It's about strategies and systems and all of the other aspects that we need to put together, including the structure of how we actually support and fund. And then the third area for us is, of course, it's about money. Nothing moves without money. Whether it is other people's money or money from, so whatever the sources we get from, we need it, and we need it now, even as we think about where we should be getting more from. So the question is always about, what kind of money do we need to be transformative about what we want to deliver on the continent? Is it a few $1 million? Is it billions of dollars? Where should it coming from? That's a question, and it's a conversation for every day. And for us, one of the biggest challenges we also have is the question around oversight. Oversight is about assurance to those who then step up to provide support. It's about accountability. Accountability is not just those who actually provide funding, it's also about those ones who are our downstream partners. Institutions like ICIPE have done great job, otherwise they would not have survived for 40 years. So they are doing many great things here that is actually could be a template for a lot of institutions to learn from about how to be resilient. I'm sure there are ups and downs for ICIPE, how to maintain partnerships. Once we figure that out, then it becomes the other big question for all of us. What are the impact areas? What do we want to see impacting in Africa? For me, the first thing is people. It's about people, and people is about the kind of training that ICIPE has done for, again, 40 years. Generating and leadership development has been at the center of this, and I think all of us as organizations are focused on people, are focused on places of work. This is a beautiful campus. A lot of great science goes on here. I know a lot about ICIPE because I had the pleasure also as a very young scientist meeting TRO somewhere in Chiromo. He did not teach me, but I went to one of his lectures and who was asking all of us as young scientists who is aspiring, what kind of insect do you want to study? Do you want to study about those ones that crow or those ones that fly? Or those, always that stuck with my mind. Then the other third area, of course, is policies. Money comes to places where policies are actually in place for that to happen. And that means, for example, we all talk about engaging the private sector. The private sector have a very risk aspect to all of this. They will not invest if they feel that everything is, the policies are not there. So we need to think always about de-risking investment from all sources. Then there are products. One of the, in my view, one of the weaknesses about what we try to do in Africa is we can do quite a good work on the discovery sciences, but we have been very poor at transitioning that discoveries to the marketplace, to commercialization, to make sure that agri-tech spin-off companies come out of all the work that we are investing in. And then the partnerships is about how we maintain that. Now, back to the question at hand. One of the questions we ask is, what do African researchers tell us as an organization that needs to be fixed in the entire grant making and funding context? There are many things I have heard. For example, they would say, leadership, we need reform in grant making. There's a traditional angle to that, but we need to reform that. They tell us that they need us to be more ambitious, riskier, and we fund creative research. That's great. We invest in more institutions. That's a must, we do that. These are the places where R&D happens. We build science leaders, we move away from short-term projects. I hear about this all the time. And again, this is an area that really needs to be addressed. It is annoying for a partner to come to the table and give a grant to you, and it's for 1 year or 2 years, and then they start asking you about impact. What impact can you make in 2 years or 18 months? And I think this is a conversation that we all need to also have, thinking more longer term about how we approach this. I think Professor Lumumba has always mentioned this aspect around government funding, other sources. For us, we have been lucky to be able to work with many governments, and we can see what governments are contributing, even though they have not reached that step where we can say 1 or 2% is coming out of this. This week, I just received, for example, a letter from government of Rwanda. They are able to they want to put $1 million into a project. Can we co-fund something with them? Co-funding is critical. And if you can match $1 to every dollar, wherever it is coming from, that would unlock more funding from our government. But we need to make that case very, very much so, because we need to make a stronger value proposition. One of the mistakes we see is when we go looking for money, we go to the wrong departments of government. With all due respect to Ministry of Health, that's not where the money is for R&D. The people who make decisions are in the budget offices and in planning offices and the economic offices, because that's where you can argue there is value for money in investing in R&D. So what structural reform do we need, very briefly? I think many funders, we collect data, gender, geography, discipline, but there has to be an appreciation that that data alone does not shift power that we are seeking for the continent. The structural reforms, they require that we think about addressing bias. There is bias embedded in decision-making systems. And part of the reason is we're still reliant on what you might call Western-centric excellence benchmarks. So we haven't thought through about what are the benchmarks and the metrics ourselves we should use in our own context. So we are having then a weighting heavy of institution reputation. I mean, it means we are always relying on what, again, you might call them the usual suspects who attract all the money in Africa. We have thousands of institutions in Africa and universities, but only a few seems to have gotten it right to do this. Some of it is historically disadvantaged organizations. With all due respect to those of you who may come from South Africa, yes, we talk about all the top 7 in South Africa, but what about the 40 historically disadvantaged universities in South Africa? They are no better than all the others that we have in Africa, thousands of them, because they're in the same trap of not getting recognition or support. And then we need to think about the people you send to your grants, how they review that. The review is dominated by people who come from privileged networks. And again, structural thing we need to fix. Now, the other question is, what are the opportunities we could all support and adopt? One is long-term funding. I won't go into that because I've mentioned that for that. We need to, but it's just to be very focused on that long-term, whether it's coming to government, adaptable but predictable funding it requires. We need research for building capacities, for leadership development, for institutions. Now, this enables organizations to plan, to support the talent they require. Here in ICIPE has been known for this APIS program for many, many years about talent, and the question around sustainability. Now, we need also to target funding for this mentioned historical imbalances. So we need to look again at how we are supporting early career researchers in those universities, underfunded regions or institutions, support women-led consortia. For the last 10 years I've been in this business, I've been looking at the data of number of applications we receive from women when we put out requests for proposals. I have not seen that going above 30%. 30% means that we are nowhere to get that aspect around, whether it is gender parity or equity. We have some way to go in terms of focusing on women and their contribution and their place and how their leadership is being left behind. And that's something that I think we all of us should be very intentional as we approach this. And we are doing that with our own programs to do that. Now, the aspect around co-creation, because you mentioned that, I think this is a pathway to shifting power when we think about co-creation. And again, co-creation definition by who is very, very important. Now, we have to focus on co-created programs where researchers, communities, and institutions participate. So if we're talking with the ICIPE, we are talking with all the other institutions here, then we'll be co-creating because we all understand where we are coming from. That way, co-creation can contribute or establish trust, ensure relevance, it distribute that decision-making authority. The question, again, that keeps coming up is how do we look at the culture of equity? There is bias in the whole system about grant making across the entire funding chain. So that requires structural changes in the culture itself of how we do grant making. It requires transparent criteria, clear communications, and how consistent application of rules are, rather than changing the rules along the way. We need equity advisory boards in organizations that are seeking funding. We need how we monitor those awards, how we prevent bias, how we publish dashboards. Dashboard is, if somebody is looking at Science for Africa Foundation, are you able to see all the information about where we are supporting, who we are supporting, what areas of discipline? We need that information. That should be public information. And that requires policies and practices policies and redesign peer review, drawing wider geographies, career stages, and reviewing training. We need data, and technology can help us to do all of this. That would help us how we make decisions, how we joint review panels are critical for the work we do. But one of the things we see is that can help us to bring north, south, 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 but more importantly, to bring intra-African collaboration. So the last thing I would say then, we believe good science comes from anywhere. So we feel as an organization and collectively as partners that we actually have a moral imperative to fill those structural gaps that we can support R&D across the continent. It's a moral imperative for us because great science, and very briefly, one of the things I've been so excited is to have a grant going to a place Eritrea. I think some people might struggle even where that is in our map of Africa. But there's some great work that is being done in Eritrea. So the person we provided support there was the first person in Eritrea to do genomics work in that country on Eritrean population. That is great. That's the kind of things I celebrate. Sudan is in a mess because of conflict. But there were 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 biospecimens that were generated by some great scientists, but of course they could not do the work. We are a unique funder because we can then say, move those biospecimens out of Sudan. We will establish a place in Ethiopia where that work can be done. And the last thing I would give an example. Right now, I have a team in Mali. And most of us, those of you who actually get information from BBC or CNN, with all due respect to them, great job they do, is all you hear about Mali is the crisis in Mali, or Abdul, the crisis in Burkina Faso, or the crisis in the Sahel region. That's all we get to hear. But their Center of Excellence, one of the best molecular sequencing center in Mali, led by Professor Jimde, is state of the art in Bamako. So these are the exciting things about what we are doing, but I finished by going to what Professor Lumumba said. Sustainability comes from government stepping up, and in a big time, they must step up.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Yes, a round of applause for Dr. Kariuki. You've certainly navigated various areas that have actually gone across some of what the other speakers have contributed to. But I'm very glad that you have underscored the need for science, and especially research by ICIPE and other institutions, to show relevance. And if you look at the investments that are being done, then we have also to demonstrate what are the returns to the investments. This is what attracts more funding. And you've also indicated some of the opportunities that ICIPE can tap into. And looking at some of the structural challenges in funding, this brings us to the next contributor, Dr. Claire Linear. And Linear, you are not last but not least either, but you now wave things together. Today, ICIPE will launch an ambitious vision and strategy document for 2026 to 2030. And during this period, national priority shifts may be influenced by various factors. Example, political dynamics, geopolitical issues, climate change is still a crisis, and so on. Now, what would you consider the most efficient mechanisms for science funding partners to rapidly redirect resources to these dynamic events without dismantling established long-term research programs such as those envisaged in ICIPE's vision and strategy 2026 to 2030. And just building on what Dr. Tom Kariuki indicated, so much good work has been done. What do we need to do to build more on what is already evidently established? The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And thank you for that difficult question. And before I address it, I'd just like to say I'm honored to be here together with this very distinguished panel and with ICIPE. It's been a privilege to be here during the last week. I've seen excellent science that's being done here, and also the great impact that it has and can have on the society. So I'll go back to Sweden extremely inspired and full of stories to tell my colleagues in Sweden. But back to your question, and as has been mentioned already many times this morning, we're living in a changing world. It's changing very fast and it's unpredictable. We see that funding for development cooperation is shrinking, but there's also a change in the shift in the type of funding that's available. It's more short-term, there's more earmarking, less core funding, more focus on trade, and there's an expectation more and more that the development cooperation will benefit the funding country. And I'm, of course, a representative of SIDA, the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. So we have for a very long time been proud to support specifically research in lower middle income countries. And this support has been very long term. It's been often been in terms of core contribution, which means it's directly aligned with the priorities of our partner organizations. And of course, we are affected by these changes in the environment in Sweden and internationally also. We need to adapt. And this has consequences for partners like ICIPE. And so I think for ICIPE, it's very important to widen the funding base, partnering with private sector philanthropists. And this is something that you are doing already and that has been spoken about widely in the panel here. And then I'll get back to the other point, which has also already been mentioned a lot this morning and which Professor Lumumba spoke so passionately about, and it has been mentioned in the panel. And that's the importance for national funding. It's important that national funding is increased so that you can mobilize your own resources and you are less reliant on external funding where the priorities can shift and it severely affects the way you can do your research. You, of course, like everybody else, needs to have a long-term strategy for research and not to be too dependent on the changing priorities. So I guess the $1,000 question is, how do you get the governments to increase national funding? This is something that we struggle with worldwide. We, so ICIPE as a research organization and us as funders, we need to demonstrate that the research is relevant and that it has impact, that it's a gain to the society investing in research. And I think ICIPE is extremely well placed to do this. I've seen great examples during the week of research being transformed into marketable products. In particular, I'd like to mention the work of BioInnovate here at ICIPE. I've seen very interesting projects that are at a varying degree of commercializations, and some have actually become enterprises and are employing staff. And these are the type of the results that we need to be communicating to the politicians and to the decision makers. At the end of the day, they're concerned about pressing issues like creating jobs. And this, I think, is the way to get the politicians' ears. At the same time, research takes time, as I think everybody here is very aware of that. The impact can be many years away, so we also need to manage the expectations. We have a job to do here to educate politicians and the public that there are no quick fixes. Research takes time, and there needs to be long-term resources for research. In the drive to have impact, we shouldn't forget about the importance of also investing in fundamental research, which might have no known applications currently, but lead to increased knowledge and possible applications in the future. So, already mentioned by several people, changing scenario, unpredictable world, it's vital to have a roadmap so that ICIPE's priorities are clear, don't get fragmented by the shifting priorities of the funders, and this is exactly what ICIPE has in this vision and strategy. So I'd like to congratulate ICIPE for this great work, and it's been a lot of fun actually this week getting to know the vision and strategy through various pedagogical exercises. So thank you for this.
Round of applause. Yeah, thank you very much for underscoring the need for ICIPE to have a long-term vision, just the way Professor PLO indicated earlier. And in this case, ICIPE shouldn't be overly influenced by the funders' priorities. And to do that, we have to demonstrate that what ICIPE is doing is creating impact for the society, and in very positive ways, and addressing some of the key challenges that we have all underscored in this dialogue. Now, I just want to give each one of you just a minute. Having listened to each one of you, and also having listened to the challenge that we need to have a long-term strategic vision of where to go, so that we can withstand some of the challenges and dynamics that come along. Professor Abdul, what do you see as just parting shots that you can say, this is how you want to position this center? And allow me to say on a very light note, the DG of ICIPE just resembles the founding director of ICIPE. He's like a brother to him. Thank you. Please go ahead.
I don't think I have anything to say that hasn't been said. You can't do anything without capacity, and I believe we really need to continue to build capacity of our young people. They are the owners of the future. We are here just to manage the transition, but they are the true owners, and we need to make sure that they have access to the information they need and that they take that ownership. That's my vision of what the future should be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. A round of applause. And Dr. Eliane Obalijoro, okay. Your parting shot.
My parting shot is pollinators matter to everything we do at C4 whether it's around agricultural systems and agroforestry or land restoration. So we are natural partners for nature, for people, and for prosperity. And I look forward to doing a lot more with ICIPE.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Sally from AUBA, where do we see us going, and to give inspiration to ICIPE to contribute towards the CADIP and the Africa Agenda 2063, the Africa we want? Parting shot.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I will echo the DG on the capacity development, but from the African Union perspective that we are looking at to build and establish more centers of excellence at regional level. This will ensure regular capacity building for our young professionals and also for our farmers and pastoralists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. We now come to Dr. Wanjiru Kamau Rutenberg. Your parting shot and inspiring word for ICIPE.
Congratulations is one. Second, in West Africa, Ghana in particular, there's this concept of Sankofa, looking back, fetching what you left behind so you can move forward. Tell us more about T.R. Odhiambo, who he was. We need the movie, we need the Netflix documentary. The future T.R. Odhiambos need to know who he was. So that's my challenge to ICIPE.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now we hear a parting shot from Dr. Kariuki.
Very briefly, I think I really like the approach around One Health. I think it makes sense to all of us about what the strategy is, even if you don't have to read the 400 pages of the strategy. It makes perfect sense. And I'm looking forward to how we can actually start building our partnerships around this, because part of actually the work we are doing across the continent is being driven by One Health approaches. And secondly, of course, we have been supported by ICIPE for the last 4 years. As an international non-governmental organization, we are hosted to operate in Kenya as a Pan-African organization by ICIPE. Thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause. And finally, last and not least, Dr. Claire Linia, please your parting shot from the funders' perspective.
Thank you. This is the problem being last. Everything was taken. And I was going to mention the One Health work. I'm really excited about that and looking forward to following ICIPE and seeing how the research is really shaped around One Health. But then I'll also add seeing the projects being developed into commercial companies, following the path there, learning a lot about it myself, and I think we are learning a lot from ICIPE also. So exciting to be following the ICIPE the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to Dr. Linia. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this dialogue. And as you've seen, various issues have come up discussing on how ICIPE can sharpen its vision to be long-term and also develop the needed strategies to achieve that. We've seen various comments coming up in terms of how we can celebrate the achievements that we've made. And most of these are pegged on funding. And from what someone said, we need adequate funding because research is not cheap. And that also means it's a challenge to ICIPE and other institutions that can we demonstrate value for investments. can we design programs around the 4H, all contributing to One Health, showing what returns that we make to society, and also contributing to addressing some of the challenges that we are facing today. We've also seen the need for aligning our programs with some of the important programs on this continent. The CADIP declaration, as we see, it's a very important framework for Africa, Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program. If ICIPE and other institutions can show what contribution they are making towards the realization of the inspirations that are in that document, because that is the document by our member states for this continent, it will be possible to address another issue that we've had here. We need more domestic funding into research. And domestic funding can only come from our member countries if our member countries can see the value of investing more in research. And that is the challenge where we've seen that also donors would like to see what impact are you creating. It is nice to look at different types of data, demographic and so on, but more importantly, data about outcome areas that change lives of people. And in that case, I really want to appreciate ICIPE is on the right track, developing Bangape projects that are also linking the work they're doing to markets. And that is where we've also seen. Doing that, it will mean you are creating more jobs for people, you are creating more incomes for people, and so on. And finally, we need to leverage on the various partnerships, collaborations around the continent, strengthening public-private partnerships, and unlocking the potential that is within ourselves. As the DG said earlier, he would like to see how to sharpen and deepen the capacity of its staff, the scientists and everyone else, because we believe that everyone counts within the area of research and development. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have this group. If you can stand, and we all applaud for the contribution they have made on this important day that ICIPE is going to launch its vision and strategy for 2026 and 2030. I wish ICIPE the very best. And as I wind up, I want to say I'm a proud product of ICIPE. I did my postdoctoral program after I finished my PhD in the US in Cornell. And this is the place I came 6 months after I went back to Edgerton. I came here to do my postdoctoral work on stem borer control using the push-pull technology. And I'm also glad to say that BioVision Africa Trust is a product that has been supported institutionally by ICIPE. We are based here, contributing to how we can get the technologies, the innovations, ICIPE and others are wider application and use. So consider us as a strategic partner to ensure that we put relevance to the research outputs that the great scientists in this institution are generating. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the best as we continue to celebrate and enjoy this great day. Asanteni sana. Thank you. Can we have a photo? It's been requested. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you to these distinguished panelists. They're real thought leaders that have shed light on very many things, and I believe we all have take-home messages and nuggets of the elements that they have been able to discuss. We will be taking a short break because our chief guest has arrived, and I will tell us a story. And this time I will tell us a story about the bee. And on my extreme left, we do have an image of a bee. That's a stingless bee. It's a relative of the honeybee that we are all very familiar with. Now, I will want to use that and symbolize what ICIPE is and what the bee really truly does. The bee is a symbol of excellence for ICIPE's vision and strategy. The bee is one of the most remarkable insects nature has. It offers really powerful metaphors that we can be able to tap into. One, the productivity and purposefulness. Bees are relentlessly productive. Early in the morning, the bees will be out foraging and they will be back to the hive. And that is what ICIPE is like. In the morning, we all troop in to do our research. At ICIPE, this reflects our commitment to purposeful research, science that delivers tangible socioeconomic and ecological benefits. The new strategy emphasizes impact-driven innovations, and as much like the bee, efficiency and intentionality is what we are striving. The bee is also quite collaborative and it has collective intelligence. Within the colony, the bees will thrive through cooperation, there's communication, there's a lot of coordination, and in the roles of each of these. No single bee succeeds alone. Similarly, here at ICIPE, the vision advances through integrated platforms. We do have the 4 health themes, all working towards addressing the 5 impact domains. So this is really very symbolic, and our new strategy embeds collaborative science, nurturing networks that drive continental transformation. The bees are resilient, and they can adapt. So they are constantly adapting to environmental changes. And as we are all very aware, there's a lot of environmental and global changes, and the bee is able to adapt to all of this. And this mirrors what ICIPE does, our resilience by adopting adaptive research approaches, anticipating emerging challenges, looking at climate change, invasive species, looking at food security. So the Center's new strategy is calling upon us to be responsive, forward-looking science, just as the bees adjust quickly to survive. The bees are quite innovative when it comes to design and efficiency. The hexagonal, honeycomb is one of nature's most efficient structure, maximizing strength and minimizing when it comes to issues of research systems. So for ICIPE here, we're looking at excellence, looking at resource efficiency and innovation. And I believe the panelists have already alluded to all these elements that I am touching on. Creating value and multiplying. When you look at the bee, it's not just the honey that it produces. There are other hive products. We do talk about the wax, we talked about the pollen, the propolis, there is royal jelly, and these are elements that the bee is able to use to multiply its own resources. So ICIPE's new vision seeks to multiply impact. Scaling biological innovations, supporting agribusiness, enabling Africa's bioeconomy, much as the bee, whose contributions ripple across landscapes and food systems. In summary, what I would say, the bee embodies what ICIPE aspires to be under this new vision and strategy is purposeful mission. Secondly, collaborative in approach, resilient to change, innovative in design, environmentally anchored, impact-focused, organized, and efficient. And just as the bee transforms landscapes through small yet powerful actions, ICIPE seeks to transform Africa through science, innovation, and partnerships that pollinate prosperity across the continent. And today we are celebrating us launching our new vision and strategy 2026-2030. And I hope, just like the bee, we will be able to embody some of these characteristics. Thank you. We do acknowledge the arrival of our chief guest. He is in our presence, Dr. Abraham Korir Singoe, the Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs in Kenya. Now we're going to transition to goodwill messages that have been shared by our partners and people that we collaborate with. First, we will hear a video message from Dr. Hans Herren, the former Director General of ICIPE 1995 to 2005. This will be followed by a video message from Dr. Christian Bürgermeister, former ICIPE Director General 2005 to 2013. And we'll also get to hear another video goodwill message from Dr. Simeon Ehui, Director General, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, Regional Director for Continental Africa, CGR. Following this, Ms. Veronica Wayaki will share with us some written goodwill messages from Juan Lucas Restrepo, Director General, the Alliance of Biodiversity International and CIAT, Dr. Alice W. Morage, who is the Deputy Director General, Crops from Cairo, and Betty Kibara, Director, the Rockefeller Foundation, Africa Regional Office. I invite us to watch and listen to these messages of partnership and solidarity. Thank you.
Honorable Representative of the Kenya government, Excellencies, Ambassadors, and representatives of the ICIPE donor community, colleagues, the Director of ICIPE, Abdou Tenkwano, friends, it's a great pleasure for me to be here today on the invitation of the Director General of ICIPE to give a short goodwill message at the launch of the new ICIPE strategy. So building on a long-term experience in research, development, capacity building, ICIPE has prepared a new updated strategy for 2026-2030. It builds on a strong research results and development in the past, over the past almost 50 years. And it really directs its attention very nicely to the 4 H's, the 4 times health, which is human health, addresses animal health, plant health, as well as environmental health. So this strategy is very much in line also with the Sustainable Development Goals, which we all know have still long ways to go. In particular, the strategy as it is now presented or will be presented covers issues like food system transformation, which still remains one of the key elements I think we're going to have to deal with in the next decades. A food system which provides not only healthy food in a healthy environment, but also delivers on the social aspects, income generation, and dealing with the poverty and well-being overall. So I think the food system covers a lot of issues which need to be addressed even more strongly, and they will if the strategy can be implemented as presented. The other main challenges which we know are still there, climate change, progress has been made, but a whole lot more is needed. And in particular here, ICIPE also has a good handle with, on the one hand, reducing the pesticide as well as synthetic fertilizer. We contribute a lot to the greenhouse gases and climate change. So an element who can very much help actually move the whole global and African economies toward the right direction. Biodiversity loss has been a key issue, and also again very much in the agenda of ICIPE for the past 25 years now. On the one hand, conserving insects as much as possible, the bees in particular, the honeybees and wild bees. As we know, they contribute greatly to the food security, and also as an income generating activity, and using insects either for feed or for food. I think that's an area which has still more potential and is also well covered in this new strategy. Furthermore, Important are the issues of partnerships and innovation. ICIPE has been at the forefront of many innovations in terms of insect science, being again, in the side of controlling or managing insects, or insect pests, and on the other hand, of promoting useful insects, the use of them in many different areas, from silk production to, again, also as mentioned before, food and feed production. So these are some of the key elements which are covered by this new strategy, not to forget about the paramount impact which the capacity building ICIPE has had in the past and will be continued also under this strategy. So more and more capacity development, human capital development are very important. So for the donor community which is present at this meeting here today, as well as the researcher community, I wish you all the best. The donors to support ICIPE and the scientists to continue on their track to produce very innovative and impactful research. So again, thank you, Abdu, for the kind invitation to give this little goodwill message, and let me wish you a very good day here at ICIPE for the launch of the new strategy 2026-2030. So all the best. Thank you very much.
Good morning, friends and colleagues from ICIPE, and greetings from Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka. My name is Christian Burgermeister, and I had the great pleasure and honor to serve this remarkable institute as the third Director General from 2005 to 2013. On the occasion of the launch of the new 2026-2030 Vision and Strategy document of ICIPE, first and foremost, I would like to congratulate Abdu Tenkwanu, the current DG, and the whole team for putting this document together. I think it's remarkable. I believe that the 5 impact areas that you have defined are very well suited to address the global challenges that all of us are facing. In addition, I was very pleased to see that in this new strategy, ICIPE is continuing with this unique mix of fundamental research, applied research, and implementation. The latter making sure that innovations actually end up being available for the stakeholders. And in this context, I think it's very timely and it's very intelligent that that the new Directorate for Impact Delivery is part and parcel of this vision and strategy, because with this there's going to be a greater chance that these set innovations end up with stakeholders. However, for me as a lifelong scientist, it's very crucial that the necessity and the need for fundamental research continues to be a part of the DNA of ICIPE. This mix of fundamental applied research with an aim of delivery has always been a trademark of ICIPE and has made ICIPE stood aside from many other research centers in our field that went very much the downstream way. So with this, I would like to once again congratulate you for this remarkably intelligent and forward-looking vision and strategy document. I wish you all the success you deserve for the launch, and as I said, greetings from Anuradhapura. Bye-bye.
Your Excellencies, Chair and members of the ICIPE Governing Council, Director General Dr. Abdu Tenkwanu, distinguished scientists and partners, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, it's a pleasure and honor to join you for the launch of ICIPE's Vision and Strategy 2026 to 2030. Today is a proud moment not only for ICIPE, but also for all of us in the African and global research for development community. By unveiling this new strategy, ICIPE once again signals its determination to stay at the frontier of insect science and ecology and to translate that science into real benefits for people, crops, animals, and ecosystems across our continent. For more than 5 decades, ICIPE's mission has been clear: to help alleviate poverty, ensure food security, and improve human health by developing and extending tools and strategies for managing harmful and beneficial arthropods while preserving the natural resource base. IIT shares this commitment to science that changes lives through more productive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food systems in Africa. It is this shared DNA that makes our partnership so natural and so important. We are encouraged that the Vision and Strategy 2026-2030 looks boldly to the future as we position the center to play an even stronger role on climate action, transforming agri-food systems, tackling vector-borne and emerging diseases, and conserving biodiversity. These are precisely the areas where Africa's future will be decided. Climate shocks, more aggressive pests, volatile markets, malnutrition, and health threats from vector-borne and zoonotic diseases continue to test our food systems and our communities, even as biodiversity and natural resources are under pressure. We cannot address these issues in isolation. We need integrated, science-driven solutions that recognize the deep connections between plant, animal, human, and environmental health. ICIPE's long-standing emphasis on ecosystem-based approaches, biological control, and insects for food and feed is therefore not only scientifically sound, but also exactly what a One Health climate resilience future requires. Looking ahead to 2030, I see at least 3 areas where the partnership between ICIPE and IIT can become even more strategic. First, jointly tackling pests and diseases that threaten staple crops and key value chains, from cassava and maize to vegetables, livestock, and aquaculture. By combining ICIPE's strengths in insect science and ecology with IIT expertise in crop improvement, farming systems, and scaling, we can help move from reaction to preparedness, from emergency responses to robust resilience. Second, co-investing in innovation ecosystems that bring research closer to farmers, youth, and the private sector, including around biopesticides and biological control agents, insect-based feeds and foods, digital tools for surveillance and advisory services, and other nature-positive agri-food solutions. Together, we can help turn innovative science into scalable enterprises that create decent jobs and opportunities for young Africans, especially women. Third, deepening our collaboration on capacity development. ICIPE has an outstanding track record of training the next generation of African scientists. IIT also invests heavily in fellowships, internships, and practical training. By aligning our programs and sharing facilities, we can help ensure that Africa has the human capital required to deliver this ambitious vision and strategy well beyond 2030. We know that no single institution can solve these challenges alone. The sure way to succeed is through genuine partnership across disciplines, across centers, and with governments, regional bodies, farmers' organizations, civil society, and the private sector. I commend, therefore, ICIPE's leadership and governing council for the inclusive way in which this strategy has been developed, grounded in evidence, informed by partners, and responsive to the evolving needs of countries and communities. I also want to salute the scientists and staff of ICIPE whose dedication and excellence give life to this vision every day. As IITA, we reaffirm our commitment to walk this journey with you. As the CGIAR Sister Center, as a long-standing ally, and as a trusted partner on the ground in the countries where we both work, we look forward to co-designing and co-delivering programs that will bring this vision and strategy 2026-2030 to life in farmers' fields, in policy dialogues, in regional value chains, and in the lives of women, men, and youth across Africa. My warmest congratulations to ICIPE on this important launch. May this new vision and strategy inspire even bolder science, deeper partnerships, and greater impact. Together, I am confident that we can build an Africa where agriculture is more productive, diets are healthier, and ecosystems are thriving.
So it gives me a great privilege to read to you 3 goodwill messages that we received from some very close collaborators and friends of ICIPE. And the first one is from Dr. Juan Lucas Restrepo, who is the Director General of the Alliance of Biodiversity International and CIAT. So he says, "Dear colleagues, I'm very pleased to extend my warmest congratulations to ICIPE on the launch of your Vision and Strategy 2026-2030. This milestone is important not only for your institution, but for all of us who believe in the power of science to transform societies. Since 1970, ICIPE has built an exceptional reputation in entomology and applied research, showing how insects contribute to ecosystem balance and food security. Your new strategy honors this legacy while empowering communities, improving global health, and advancing sustainable agri-food systems. This vision aligns closely with our mission within the CGIAR, and although our mandates differ, they complement each other naturally. We remain committed to working with you and other continental partners to drive a more coordinated response to emerging challenges. Your insights on insect dynamics strengthen our work on agricultural biodiversity, soil health, and climate resilience, an example of scientific synergy that defines our partnership. Additionally, our joint work in pest management, pollination, and agroecology has shown how much of our teams can learn from one another, and how our collaboration delivers real benefits for farmers and communities. Your strategy also highlights a priority we strongly share, strengthening African scientific leadership and anticipating shifts in global research funding. These are challenges we take seriously. As you begin this new chapter, we are proud to stand with you as a trusted partner. We look forward to deepening our collaboration and turning this strategy into meaningful results for the communities we serve. Kind regards, Juan Lucas Restrepo. Thank you very much. The next goodwill message I have is from Dr. Alice Murage, Deputy Director General of Crops from the Kenya Agricultural Livestock Research Organization, KALRO. And I will read from her. The Kenya Agricultural Livestock Research Organization, KALRO, extends its warm congratulations to the International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology, ICIPE, on the launch of its Strategy and Vision 2026-2030. This milestone reflects ICIPE's continued leadership in advancing science and innovation and partnerships that address some of the most pressing challenges in agriculture, health, and environmental sustainability across Africa and beyond. As a long-standing partner, KALRO values the strong collaboration with ICIPE in research and capacity building, particularly in areas of integrated pest management, pollination, climate-resistant agriculture, and sustainable livelihoods. Together, our institutions have demonstrated that science-driven solutions can transform smallholder farmer systems, improve food security, and enhance the resilience of communities. We applaud ICIPE's renewed vision for the next 5 years, which aligns closely with Kenya's agricultural transformation agenda and our shared goal of promoting sustainable and inclusive agricultural development. KALRO looks forward to deepening this partnership under the new strategic framework, working jointly to generate and apply knowledge that empowers farmers and safeguards our ecosystems for future generations. Congratulations once again to the Director General, management, staff, and partners of ICIPE on this remarkable achievement. With best wishes for success in implementing the Strategy and Vision 2026-2030, Dr. Alice Murage. And I would just ask her to stand because I understand she's around. She came in. So thank you, Dr. Murage. The last message is from Betty Kibara, who is the director of Rockefeller Foundation in Nairobi. ICIPE has been an exceptional partner to the Rockefeller Foundation in advancing the insect sector and translating black soldier fly science from the lab to the land. We applaud your renewed vision and strategy, particularly the emphasis on co-creating solutions and fostering partnerships with the private sector and government. These efforts will deliver lasting and sustainable impact. We encourage you to continue innovating in insect-based solutions and to contribute towards strengthening agroecology and regenerative food production systems. Dr. Betty Kibara, who is also here. Would you mind standing up, Dr. Kibara? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, distinguished speakers. May we please give them a round of applause. And so at this particular moment, we are transitioning into the speech of the guest of honor. And I'd like the ushers please to bring the national flag of the Republic of Kenya. Ushers. Slightly behind you. Thank you. That's our necessary protocol. Distinguished guests, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, it's now my singular honor and deep privilege to invite our guest of honor, Dr. Abraham Korir Sing'oei, Elder of the Burning Spear, Principal Secretary of the Foreign Affairs and in the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. Dr. Sing'oei is also an advocate of the High Court of the Republic of Kenya and a legal scholar. Ladies and gentlemen, may we receive our guest of honor.
Your Excellency Dr. Abdou Tenkoano, Director General and Chief Executive Officer for ICIPE, members of the Governing Council of this distinguished organization, the leadership of many research institutions based out of Nairobi and beyond, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good morning. First and foremost, let me say that this morning I am deeply honored to be in your midst. I have noted that there's no want for distinguished speakers who have stood before you today. I want to take note particularly of a distinguished speaker who spoke before me, Professor Lumumba, who was my former teacher at the University of Nairobi in the late 90s. I am certain that he has made extremely compelling submissions on the subject before us. And so it's my profound honor to join you today for the launch of the International Center of Insect Psychology and Ecology's ICIPE's Vision and Strategy 2026 to 2030. This occasion marks a significant moment not only for ICIPE as an institution of global excellence, but also for Kenya, its proud host for the last 5 decades. You will recall, Excellencies, that ICIPE, founded by the renowned Kenyan scientist Professor Thomas Risley Odhiambo, was established at a time when Africa urgently needed scientific and indigenous knowledge to drive home-based solutions and contribute to the continent's nascent development, particularly in food security and health. Today, ICIPE stands as a beacon of scientific excellence in Africa, with the ability to translate scientific discoveries into practical solutions capable of addressing critical challenges, including climate risks, biodiversity loss, poverty, hunger, and unemployment through innovative insect-based science. Indeed, Professor Odhiambo's vision of harnessing insect research to develop and disseminate innovative management tools and strategies while safeguarding our natural resource base through research and capacity building has borne remarkable fruit. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Kenya's long-standing partnership with ICIPE is a source of great pride and inspiration. Over the years, the institution's pioneering research and innovative solutions have contributed to the well-being and resilience of our people and ecosystems, enabling us to confront the evolving challenges of a dynamic world. Through its flagship programs, ICIPE continues to advance sustainable agriculture and strengthen Kenya's bioeconomy, supporting national development through initiatives like Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Project, the National Agricultural and Rural Inclusive Growth Project, the Agricultural Sector Development Support Program, and the Eastern African Agricultural Productivity Project, amongst others. The launch of ICIPE's Vision and Strategy 2026 to 2030 is therefore timely, as it offers a roadmap for advancing Africa's development priorities through cutting-edge science, innovation, and partnership, and aligns with Sustainable Development Goals, the Africa Union Agenda 2063, and President Ruto's bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at the heart of ICIPE's vision and strategy is a steadfast commitment to nurturing talent. Through this, ICIPE is poised to develop the next generation of leaders and innovators in insect science and the bioeconomy, empowering young Africans to turn scientific discoveries into lasting, sustainable impact. It is important to point out the obvious, which is that, to me, ICIPE stands as a demonstration of the validity of the statement that Africa can bring her own solutions to her own problems. The fact that ICIPE has been situated in this country for the last 50+ years, contributing immensely to our sustainable development, speaks to that reality. Additionally, it is important to recognize the prescience on the part of the government of the Republic of Kenya in granting an opportunity to organizations such as ICIPE, ICRAF, and many others who are within this same ecosystem to operate in Kenya through conferring upon them very special status. That status allows them, to operate and to optimize on resources mobilized to meet the targets that they have set. And so even the ground on which we stand or we sit on today is a ground that was generously donated by the Republic of Kenya to this great institution. There are many other spaces that the Republic of Kenya has sacrificed in favor of institutions such as ICIPE and others so that they can flourish. And we continue to put in place and to pursue policies that are enabling of international organizations working together with Kenyan organizations to be able to promote sustainable development as we go into the future. And so with those remarks, ladies and gentlemen, allow me again to join the rest of those who have spoken in wishing ICIPE a very, very successful implementation of their strategy 2026 to 2030, which we shall launch in a short while. Thank you very, very much, and every best. Asante.
A round of applause for our honored guests. An illustrious son of Kenya and a learned counsel in the High Court of Kenya and a legal scholar. We appreciate you, sir, and thank you most sincerely for honoring us by officiating at this auspicious occasion. At this time, we are now reaching the crescendo of today's event. It's now the official launch of the ICIPE Vision and Strategy, Impacting Nature and Society. The team will now come on stream and we launch the strategy. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon. There's no energy. You launch by taking off. Good afternoon. There's no energy this side. My colleagues, good afternoon. Good, very well. So We are going to launch the vision, and we are going to do it in style. So I'll request Dr. Julius Echuru and the other colleagues to come on stage. Please come on stage. You can proceed. And we have a big copy of the vision with us. Yes, are you ready? Julius? Julius is ready. Are we ready? Let's encourage him. Let's see if he's strong enough. Oh. Oh, yes. Some more encouragement. Very good. Yes, now he's strong. He's coming and bringing it. Some more encouragement. Some more. A round of applause for the colleagues. Let's appreciate the colleagues. It's hard work to bring a vision into fruition. Thank you, colleagues. So at this juncture, I would like to request our Director General and our Chair of the Governing Council and our guest of honor, the Permanent Secretary, to join us on stage. Let's encourage them as they join us on stage. Another round of applause. Good. So, part of our core values in this vision we are launching, the core values, the 5 core values, they spell the name arise. They spell the name? So can we all arise? Have we arose at the back? Good. So the tech team has prepared for us some exciting things. So we'll do a countdown from 10. But I'll first check if we can count before we start. So can we try and count from 10 to 5? Ready? Are we ready? No, we are not ready. Are we ready? Good. Can we count together? 10. Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So that was a test. That was a test. So when the countdown begins here, we are to count down. Great. Are we ready? The ICT team and the tech team, are we ready with the countdown? Ready? Yes, I can see thumbs up. Good. So we can start together. 10, 9, together? Yes. Good. Uh-huh. Yes. All right. 2, 1. Perfect. Another round of applause. Good. Thank you very much. I'll request Your Excellencies to stay on stage. The tech team, a little, thank you so much. So I'll request the following to join our Excellencies on stage for a photo. They will also receive the hard copies. So I will request the rest of the Governing Council to come on stage. Let's encourage them. So they will receive a copy and they'll come with it on stage for a photo. Let's appreciate very good. Yes. Once you're ready with the photo. Thank you very much. On stage, I'll also request our two Deputy Director Generals for Corporate Services and for R4D to join us on stage. Please provide them with copies. Let's encourage our Deputy Directors. They should also be joined by the Director for Human Resource and Protocol, as well as the Director for Impact. A round of applause. So those are representing all of us as ICIPE staff, since we cannot also fit here on stage. Some copies, please. Thank you so much. Not yet. One more. Thank you for your patience. So we'll also request the following dignitaries to join us here on stage. Professor PLO Lumumba, kindly. And Miss Sophie Price. And His Excellency Mr. William Alexander to join us on stage, please. A round of applause. Oh yeah, good. I got it now. And Her Excellency the Ambassador Miriam Aman, please join us on stage. So that's a big photo, and I hope the comms team, you're getting it right. Yes, we get closer. Let's check our height also. Good. A round of applause. Let's appreciate. Thank you so much, Your Excellencies. We can take our seats. Let's encourage them as they get back to the seats, and we can all be seated now. We have launched and we are flying. Now I'll hand over back to Evelyn and Jimmy.
Congratulations to ICIPE on the launch of the Vision and Strategy 2026-2030. What a historic moment we have just witnessed. And a lot has been said and done, and we can only appreciate all that has gone into making this day a success. Now, to formally express our gratitude for today's momentous occasion, I would like to invite Professor Faith Osier, who is a member of ICIPE Governing Council, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Distinguished guests, our guest of honor, Director General, I feel like dancing. I first have to observe all protocols, so all protocols observed, but I just want to give a big vote of thanks to ICIPE first and foremost. On behalf of the Governing Council, we've been here all week. The change in the air, you can feel it. You can see it in the light of the students presenting to us, of the staff, the enthusiasm, the passion. I don't need to say anything. You're doing it, and I'm so proud of you. And I want to thank you. In fact, the Governing Council are unanimous in the support and in the energy that we see in the vision. We want to appreciate the process for developing the vision, the principle for inclusivity. Everybody had a part to play. Everybody had something to say. Everybody could see where they fit in the big picture as we move towards the vision for 2030. So I want to first thank the Director General for creating the environment that allows people to feel that they are part of the process. The vision cannot be reached by the Director General on his own. The vision is reached by each member of staff, each student, everybody who looks after the grounds, everybody who looks after the facilities, all the support staff, as well as the scientists. The scientists cannot work without all the other parts. And so my first vote of thanks, for which I want us to give a big round of applause, is really to the whole ICIPE family who together have crafted this vision, together are going to implement this vision, and have promoted a culture of inclusivity, warmth, respect for each other, and passion to deliver on this great vision. So a big round to all ICIPE staff. The next group of people that I'd really like to thank are all our donors, our supporters, all our friends, all our distinguished guests, all the other institutions with which we work. The example was given before of the bee and the colony, and how together that's what allows us to achieve our vision. And so we want to thank you for your continuous support for ICIPE. Thank you for joining hands with ICIPE, and we look forward to working together with you as we work on this vision for 2026-2030. So to all our donors, all our supporters, all our friends, all our partner institutions, a very big round of applause. Finally, I'd also like to acknowledge the communities in which we work, and all the people that generously give their time, give their resources, and we had the privilege of visiting some of these locations this week, and the impact that you're creating on the community. So a very big round of applause to our communities here in Kenya and indeed throughout Africa, where ICIPE has a very strong footprint. So a big round of applause for that. And so I hope I have covered all the important territories. And I just want to conclude by saying that our current population in Africa is 1.5 billion. In 2050, we're going to be 2.5 billion people in Africa. 1 in 4 people will be African. And so it is a big challenge for us as we think about the 4 H's, health, environment, etc. It's a big challenge for us to ensure that we put in place the building blocks that will allow the Africa that we want in 2050, in 2063 to exist. We start now every day by doing the right thing every day. While it's a big challenge, I think it's also a huge, huge opportunity for Africa. And I'm so proud that ICIPE is at the forefront of looking ahead to the Africa we want and for building what we're building today. I really want to give a shout out to the youth and echo Professor Dr. Abdu's remarks that the future is yours. I hope that in the leadership that you have at ICIPE and what we have seen are the kind of leaders who have put in place the structures that enable you to embrace that future and to make it your own. So we're really looking to you to be the front runners and who will create that Africa that we're looking forward. So on behalf of the Governing Council, I want to thank everybody, and let's have a nice lunch and celebrate. Congratulations, ICIPE.
Thank you, Professor, for the vote of thanks. Honored guests, our Chief Guest of Honor, Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, Heads of Mission and International Organizations, our Honorable DG, Directors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Our Honorable Director has warmly invited you to lunch, but meanwhile, just after this, we'll allow the chief guest, our Director General, the ICIPE Board of Governors, and distinguished guests to tour the exhibitions. Following that, we'll have a tree planting, and then we'll enjoy lunch. Thank you very much. So we let the VVIPs go out first. Then the rest of us, we may have a photo opportunity also with our vision and strategy, and then follow on to the exhibitions. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yes, please. Thank you. So may I request our Director General, led by our illustrious colleague, Dr. Tekmo, to lead them. Dr. Tekmo, you may lead the distinguished colleagues to the exhibitions. Welcome.
Extra pressure, baby. DJ Sergeant, moto sana.
Slow down, baby, before you get the babies. You gon' make the man them go crazy. I get to check and mimi. Neza, wako kose kuwa mimi. You say you wanna bam bam with me. You say you wanna chop my money. You say you wanna call me daddy. Oh, I can be a sugar daddy, mama. I can put you on top. Put you in a song. Baby, chop and chop, don't stop.
How are you?
Good colleagues, you may wish to take photos. Honored colleagues, you may wish to take photos. You are free to come to the podium to take photos. Thank you very much.
Nilikutana naye Kilimani, Nairobi, 2015. Kibaridi cha asubuhi, kijua fani so kikali saa 5. Oh, Nairobi, 2015. Nikamchagua yeye katikati ya wenzake watano. Nikamuomba kanio ama moyoni Mungu nikampa moja. She's my number moja. Nikamuomba kaniomba namba, moyoni Mungu nikampa moja. Now she's my number moja. Yani namaanisha kwamba ndo tushawana. Tushawana. Ndo tushawana. Ndo tushawana. Tulipatana Bongo, Mikocheni, kwa zangu bichi nalo upepo wa bahari. Alinipita kama meli, anayumba yumba akidondosa kishenzi. Oh, Mikocheni, kamfuata utadhani zombie. Habari gani mbona uko lonely? Jina ni gani akasema Zari. Nikamwambia aje, kamwambia kwangu ni kwake. Nimshike wapi ndio aje, taka moyo.
Tumeona mkono wake Bwana.
Mingi